Good morning. Let me just do a few things on here so I can turn off the comments. Hopefully you guys can see the screen better. Okay. Good morning. It's 9 o'clock. We're going to get started. Okay. Let me make sure everything is ready to go here. Awesome. Good morning. Okay. So, here we are. We're going to talk about balance, and we're going to work on our feet today, which is going to be great. So why don't we have everybody just come and sit in a comfortable position, and we're just going to get started with a few deep breaths, just kind of center and ground down, and let some people join. So we'll close our eyes. Any comfortable seated position is fine, and then we'll move on. So let's just close your eyes. Feel yourself connected to your mat. Begin to take some nice big inhales through the nose and exhales through the mouth. And just kind of getting into your space, getting out of your head. And we'll start thinking about our balance, which is what our focus is going to be for today. And I like people to think not just about physical balance, but overall balance in our life. And I like to envision a wheel. Or if you want to, you can think about a pie and how there would be slices of the pie or there would be spokes of the wheel. And in each little segment of that wheel or that pie, we have dedicated areas that all contribute to our balance. We have our energy, which would be energetic balance like chi, life force, our meridians, the chakras, physical balance, nutritional balance, emotional balance, and social balance. Those are the biggies that are in the wheel. And sometimes when one area gets too much attention, the wheel of the pie actually can't get any bigger. It must take away from the other areas. So it's always good to kind of check in every once in a while if you're just feeling off and see if maybe one of those areas is not quite in the right balance and taking away, or maybe that you're not giving enough to another area. And the nice thing about yoga is it really can help us balance our wheel without even really thinking about it. We don't have to think about one area that we want to pull back from. It just, the physical and the mental and the breathing just really helps us kind of stay balanced. So let's just take 3 deep breaths together. Let's inhale our arms up overhead. You can keep your eyes closed. Bring your hands to heart center and exhale. One more time. Inhale. You can even look up and stretch to the neck. And then exhale. And our last time, we'll take a nice big inhale up. And an exhale down. Okay, let's get right to it. We've got a lot of stuff to do today. I've got my therapy balls out. You can see I've got my mat pushed up to the wall, perpendicular. You can take that over there. We're going to do some legs up the wall and some stretches at the wall at the end of the class, or else you can put your mat there now. But what I want you to do is I want you to grab your balls, and we're going to work on the feet. And I'll talk a little bit about the feet and the importance of them. I have a dual ball. I have something that's about the size of a tennis ball. I have a small little ball for your feet that's about the same size as a golf ball. And then I have some smaller balls that would be like in your melt kit if you had those. So what we're going to do is we're going to stand up and we're going to work on 3 different parts of our foot. We're going to work back behind the heel, just behind the heel, just in front of the heel. I don't want you to be right on the fat pad. That's actually the medical term for right underneath your heel bone. You want to be back there. And your toes are down, and you're just going to compress and maybe roll from side to side. The foot has 28 bones. It has 30 joints. It has over 100 muscles, ligaments, and tendons. So there's a lot going on. This is the first area that we're going to work. Now you're going to work to the outer edge of the whole, if you think about your whole arch. So my heel is down, and I'm kind of on the pinky edge there. And I'm just sort of rocking back and forth and getting the weight onto that area. What we're doing is we're just looking for tight areas, we're looking for adhesions. We have the plantar fascia in the bottom of the foot. It's very dense, it's very thick, it can be many layers full. And it needs to be happy and healthy and have a lot of blood flow in order for our foot to do all the things that we want to do. Third area that we're going to go to, you're going to drop your heel down. Put your ball more towards the base of the big toe. And then you're going to move to between the big toe and the second toe. This is going to go first metatarsal, second metatarsal. This is going to point and flex my toes. I'm going to bend and extend. And I'm going to lift and I'm going to move over to the next one. Now I'm kind of at the spot on the ball of my foot between my second and third toe, and I'm pointing and flexing. So we have this fascia that's at the bottom, this plantar fascia that's at the bottom of our feet. And we have areas and strings of fascia. I'm working all the way out to my pinky toe. It feels so good. So you can use a variety of different balls. I'm going to switch balls and go to one that's smaller. And I'm going to start pressing on a line from my heel to my big toe. Then I'm going to lift up my foot and I'm going to press and go from my heel to my second toe. And my heel to my third toe. So the important thing about our feet is, especially with our big toe flexibility, is our big toe is responsible for 90% of our foot's control and 90% of our balance. So we really want to make sure that we have some big toe flexibility. I'm moving over to my other foot. I'm just going to change balls. I'm just going to see what it feels like to be on a softer ball. I'm on a ball right now that's about the size of a tennis ball. I'm back behind. I'm going to work those 3 spots. And I'm breathing and trying to stay relaxed. There's some real tight, tender spots in my feet, but I do a lot of yoga. I walk around barefoot a lot, so I have really good flexibility in my feet. You might find that if you wear cleats, if you're an athlete, if you wear ski boots, snowboard boots, you're in shoes a lot, you're going to lose a lot of the flexibility in the bottoms of your feet. I'm moving to the second spot. I'm just pinning and compressing. My heel is down, the ball is on the pinky edge, the outside of my arch. So we have pieces of fascia, we have strings of fascia that go from our big toe all the way to the tip of our tongue. One complete line. So things are so connected. If our feet are tight, we're going to have problems with our ankles and our knees, and it's just going to go up the kinetic chain, and it can affect your hips. It can affect all kinds of things. Now I'm going back to the ball of the foot. I'm going to point and flex my toes. I have a lot less flexibility. I'm looking at my toes on the left side. I'm dropping my heel down and pointing and flexing. Feels so good. I could do this all day long, but I have so much I want to do with everybody today, so I'm going to go pretty quickly through this ball work. Now I'm going to work from the heel to my big toe. I'm going to pick up my foot. I'm going to go from my heel to my second toe. You guys keep going. This is my favorite ball to work on my feet. I'm going to put a link somewhere on my website. It's a knobby little ball. It feels so good on the bottoms of your feet. If you have a dual ball at home, you can use your dual ball. Use any ball you can. If you're working at your desk, put it underneath your desk and just work your feet all day long. It's awesome. Okay, so let's set the balls off to the side. Like I said, I would normally like to do that for about 15 minutes because it feels so good, but we're going to run out of time. So here's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to do we're going to do a weave in figure 4. So I have my foot up on my thigh, doesn't make a difference which one, and I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to weave them into the webbing of my toes. And I'm going to try to get my fingers as far down as possible. So my right fingers right now are smushing all the way down in between my toes. Wow. I definitely feel that. Okay, so once you're in here, that might be enough for you. If you want to do some more, you can make some circles with your ankle. Circle it around. Actually feels really good. And then keep weaving your fingers in and getting them closer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to evert and invert. So I want you to rotate your foot so that the sole of your foot goes up towards the sky, and then rotate so the sole of your foot goes down to the mat. And then keep making your circles. Then I want you to squeeze your fingers really hard and then release. And then squeeze your fingers really hard and release. And then push them down even further and squeeze and release. We're going to go over to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to weave my pinky finger in between there. I'm using every finger except for my thumb. I have to kind of manipulate my toes to get my fingers down as deep and far as I want to get them. But I'm getting them in there. And like I said, this might be enough for you. You could just hang out here and breathe. The other thing that's nice is we're kind of in a nice figure forward, a nice hip stretch here. So I'm going to slowly begin to take my hand and make circles with my ankle. Feels really good. What we're going to do when we move on to our yoga poses, keep breathing. I'm going to bring the sole of my foot up towards the sky. I'm going to wiggle those fingers in a little bit deeper. I'm going to rotate my sole so it's down towards the floor, and I'm going to go back and forth. We're going to do a series of yoga poses, and we're really going to spend a lot of time focusing on our feet. We're going to spend a lot of time focusing especially on our big toe. Because when you do your yoga poses, you'd be surprised if your toes and your feet are not in the proper alignment. It can just goes right up the chain and it can affect your whole pose. You're going to get a lot more out of your poses. You get a lot more ankle flexibility, calf flexibility, and toe flexibility. We're going to go back to making some circles. I'm going to squeeze and release. This is the last thing we're going to do. Squeeze and release. Doesn't feel great. Make sure you're breathing. Good, and then slowly begin to take your fingers out from between your toes. Just bring your feet out in front. Maybe do a little point flex, point flex. Good, and then we're going to go into what's called toe crunch or sole stretch. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see. You're going to come to all fours. You're going to curl your back toes under, bring your knees together, and bring your ankles together. You're going to reach back and pull the fourth toe or maybe the pinky toe if any of the toes are kind of stuck there. You're going to start with your hands on the mat. And we're going to work our way back so that our hips are back over our heels. But I want you to hug your ankle bones together and take it really, really slowly. You're going to feel this in your big toe. And pick up your knees and rock and pull your knees back a little bit more towards you so you're not just bending at your toes. You're bending right there, and you've got more of the ball of your foot on the mat. So I do this a lot, so this is not uncomfortable for me, and I can come up into this position. I'm squeezing my knees and I'm squeezing my ankles. If it's hard for you, I want you to keep your fingertips down on the mat. If you're going to end up practicing this at home, you can put a pillow underneath your butt at your heels and just try to help you sit back. This is either called sole stretch or it's called toe crunch. And don't forget to breathe. Take some breaths here. I know this can be really painful for a lot of people. If you've rolled to the pinky edge of your feet, I want you to roll back onto the ball of your base of your big toe and squeeze your ankles together. We're going to lift up our feet, put our hands down on the mat, do a little yogi drum roll. Get some blood flow back into those toes. We're going to do it one more time. We're going to sit back. I have these little tiny pinky toes that never want to be in the right position. And if this is incredibly painful for you, you're just going to slowly begin to walk your fingertips back towards your knees. Draw your belly button into your spine and don't forget to breathe. Squeeze your ankles together. Good, and then little yoga drum roll. Same thing we did before. Great. Bring your hands down to the mat, lift your hips, roll over your toes, downward facing dog. So look at your dog, look at your toes, make sure they're facing forward. Put a lot of the weight on the base of the big toe and even weight on the base of the pinky toe. And lift and lower your heels. You should feel some really nice flexibility here in your toes. Drop your heels, pick up your toes if you can. Pick up your heels onto your toes. Drop your heels, pick up your toes. And then slowly take about 5 or 6 steps to bring your feet behind your hands. Bring your hands to your hips, find a nice flat back, pull your belly button in, and slowly rise to stand. You can come right to the middle of together and bring your thumbs to the back of your head with your elbows up really, really high. And bring your feet together. Inhale, press your hips forward, lift your elbows. You can even lift your chin. I'm pressing my head into my thumbs, and I'm lifting up out of my low back. Pressing down with my base of my big toe. And then I'm going to inhale, rise with my arms overhead, and exhale, forward fold. I'm going to bring my feet to hips width, bend my knees, get a belly to thigh connection, and grab opposite elbows for ragdoll. So shake your head out, yes and no. You can wave your elbows from side to side. You can even interlace your hands behind your back. I want a generous bend in your knees. And belly stays connected right onto the thighs. You can rainbow the elbows from side to side. If you keep rolling to the outside of your foot, when you bring your elbows over to one side, ground down through your inner arch. And you're really going to feel a difference up the back of your legs. Bring your fingertips down to the mat and slowly roll up one vertebra at a time. Head is going to be the last thing to come up. You can keep your feet right there, hips width. One more time. Inhale, arms up. Palms come together. Thumbs come to the nape of the neck. Inhale, lift your elbows. This is actually a back bend, but I like to say be the tallest spine in the room. Inhale, arms back overhead, and slowly swan dive down. Pick up your right foot and step it way back and drop your right knee down. And bring your left hand to the inside of your left foot. So your left knee is pressing in runner's lunge. Curl your back toes under, lift up your back knee. Drive your heel to the back of the mat, and then put your knee back down on the mat, foot to the top of the back foot. Good. And we're just going to press down with this front foot, especially the base of the big toe. And we're going to bend and extend the front foot, front knee. Good. And we're going to do a twist. You can curl the back toes under and lift the back knee, or you can leave the back knee down. Bring that right hand right underneath the shoulder and lift the arm up and twist. You can bend your elbow, bring it behind your ear. Dial your belly button towards the mat. Dial your ribs up towards the sky. Slowly release. We're going to press back to downward facing dog. We're going to transition to the other side. Bring your right foot outside your right hand and drop your back knee. And curl your back toes under. Lift your knee. Press your heel to the back and then bring your knee back down again. You want to walk the front knee forward so that when you lunge into your runner's lunge, this knee stays above this ankle or behind. And we're going to press down with the instep of this right foot and bend and extend and wake up the hamstrings and say good morning to our hamstrings. Good. And then we're going to transition to the twist. My left hand comes a little bit more towards the center of the mat. I'm going to lift up my back knee on this one, and I'm going to twist my top arm up. You can bend your elbow and flare the elbow. Belly button spins to the mat. Ribs spin to the sky. And don't forget to breathe. Inhale. And exhale. Plant your hands, step back. Downward facing dog. Glance up at your hands and cross your feet, pop up onto your fingertips, and just take a slow crosswalk step so that your feet come up behind your hands. And I want you to stay down here in a forward fold. Again, my belly is right on my thighs. My knees are bent enough so that I can keep that connection. My toes are facing forward. I want to really focus on this third toe. I want the third toe in line with my ankle and in line with my shin and my knee. I'm going to walk my fingertips over towards my heel. I'm walking over towards my left heel, but I'm grounding down through the base of the big toe. And rather than shifting my weight to my heel, I'm bringing my hips forward more so that I feel more up the back, right in the outside of this hip. Then I'm going to spider crawl my fingers to the center of the mat. I'm going to ground down through this right foot as I spider crawl my fingers over towards my right heel. But I'm grounding down through the instep of this foot and shifting my weight forward more towards the center of my foot. Our feet are our foundation. Hands to hips. Let's come up with a flat back. Bend your knees, tuck your chin, lengthen through the crown of the head. Try to get your ears as far away from your shoulders as possible. Pull your belly button in. Slow elevator ride up. Heel toe your feet together. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, bend your knees, round, tuck, and curl. Bring your forehead to your knees. Lift your heels. So again, you're on your tippy toes. You're squeezing your ankles together. Come to the base of the big toe. And then drop your heels. Lift your hips. And come down to a child's pose. So knees are wide, big toes touch, arms out in front, forehead is on the mat. And let's connect to your breath here. Inhale through your nose, and now let's exhale through your nose. So seal your lips, create a slight constriction in the back of the throat, and find your Ujjayi breath. And think about your toes. Think about pressing all 10 toes into the mat. Think about pressing with your fingers and getting your hips closer to your heels. It's an active child's pose. And let's keep this Ujjayi breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. And find a nice breath count. Maybe an inhale for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's a slow, deliberate breath. It's very different than the breath that you use throughout the day. It's not your working out in the gym breath. It's not your soul cycle breath. It's a guttural breath where we're sending energy and vibration all through the body. And on the exhale, you draw your belly button into the spine and try to press out as much stale air from the bottom of our lobes of our lungs as possible with each breath. That's yoga. Great. Press yourself up. We're going to be on our mat. And we're going to start with just a lightning pose. And all this is that my toes are not tucked. I'm sitting with my hips to my heels. And my goal is to bring your hands back by your hips. I'm going to lift up my knees and without leaning back. So I'm going to slightly bring my torso forward, squeeze my heels together, and get a nice stretch through the top of the feet. Tops of the feet, sides of the feet, especially undersides of the feet, really important. Great. Plant your hands, step back, high plank. So what I want you to do is wiggle your toes back and your heels forward. Press with your hands. You can always do this down on your knees. But I want your toes to be tucked. And I want you to be shifted forward so that your shoulders are over your wrists and your heels are over your toes. Press back to downward facing dog. I'm using the wall. My heels are up. It feels great. Shift forward, plank. Pull your belly button in. Everything in the front of your body cinches up. You want to round through the upper back. Press back to downward facing dog. Press back up to plank. Take an inhale here. Exhale, lower your knees. And from here, we're going to transition to hero's pose. So I'm taking my calf muscles and I'm pulling them to the outsides of my legs. My knees are no wider than hips width, so I don't want to see any of this. Tops of my feet are on the mat. And right now, my hips are not sitting down on the mat in between my heels. It's a little early in the morning for me. I'm not that stretched out, but I would eventually get there. So because of that, I'm not going to go back. I would if I had a block or a bolster underneath my hips, but we're going to take it slow. I want you to take your fists, and I want you to press your knuckles from that first spot that we worked on the ball right in front of the heel, and I want you to drag your knuckles down your sole of your arch of your foot and get it all the way to the ball of your foot. And just keep on doing it. And if you can wiggle your hips down, well, here I am. Now my hips are down, now my glutes are down on the mat. This is great. I want you to press your knees down, but I want you to keep drawing your toes in. This is hero pose. We're doing kind of a tourniquet effect on the knee. And when we release out of this and come into downward facing dog, it's going to feel great. I want you to keep massaging the plantar fascia in the sole of your foot here. If this is really hard for you, you can sit on a block. You can just keep yourself upright. But you still want to work the knuckles onto the plantar fascia in the bottom of the foot. If the foot is nice and flexible, if the plantar fascia in the bottom of your feet is good, you're going to have a lot less incidence of plantar fasciitis, which is just basically inflammation of the fascia in the bottom of the foot, and all kinds of tendon issues and Achilles problems, and it just kind of goes up the kinetic chain. Okay, let's come out of this. Plant your hands, lift your hips, roll over your toes. Oh, that feels good. Walk your dog. Bend one knee, drive the other heel down. Relax your head, relax your neck, relax everything. Good, come back down to your knees, come to tabletop. I'm gonna bring my left foot forward. I'm gonna curl my back toes under, and now I'm in a half toe crunch. And I'm just gonna rest my left forearm on my thigh and my right hand on my right thigh, and I'm trying to put a lot of weight in the right hip and the right toes. Take an inhale here, and an exhale, let's switch. Come back to tabletop. You can do that yogi drum roll again and get some blood back in there. This time I'm gonna curl my left toes under, and I'm gonna sit my left hip back towards my left heel. I'm bringing my right foot forward. Forward enough that it gives me a good foundation. So my right side was a lot more painful than the left, which means that that's something I need to work on. I'm pulling my belly button in. You can always bring your hands down to the mat if it's hard. This is the last really crazy toe crunchy thing we're gonna do, and then we're gonna confuse our brain and do some yoga ab work and just get off of our feet. But untuck your toes, come to tabletop. One last time, just kind of hit the top of your feet onto the mat. Great. Swing your feet around. We're going to do some boat pose. Still have to focus on our feet in every pose that we're in. So I'm going to show you how important the position of our feet are when we're in boat. So bring the soles of your feet down onto the mat. Bring your hands behind your hamstrings. You're sitting back from your sit bones. Pull with your hands, bring your heart forward. I want you to find a flat back. So you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together as much as possible, tuck your chin and lift through the crown of your head. Great. So now lift your toes, and so that you just have your heels on the mat. Pull your belly button in and knit the low ribs in. So this is Navasana boat pose. It's not crunched forward like this. It's no rounded spine. So at any time you feel like you're losing it, hold on to your hamstrings, pull your heart forward, squeeze your shoulder blades back, keep your chin in line with your chest, and I'm going to lift one arm forward, and I'm going to lift the other arm forward. I'm squeezing my abs in like crazy. I'm going to bring my hands back, I'm going to pull my chest forward again, and I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades together. And don't forget your breath. And this time I'm going to lift one foot off the floor, and lower it. And I'm going to lift another foot off the floor, and I'm going to lower it. But I want you to look at that foot. I want you to press with the big toe and pull the pinky toe towards you, because you probably wanted to externally rotate the foot or the hip so that the knee is out and the pinky toe starts to flare away from you. Now I'm going to give you guys a couple of breaths to do any kind of boat pose that you want. As long as your back is flat, you can lift both arms, you can lift both legs. You can extend your legs up. You can bring your arms up overhead, squeeze your shoulder blades, make sure you're breathing the whole time, and then slowly release. Bring your hands behind your hips with your fingers facing forward. Squeeze your shoulder blades again, and we're just gonna hug our knees in and press them out. You could come, no, I don't want you to go down onto your forearms. So squeeze your elbows together and just bend and extend the knees and take a look at your feet. Squeeze the base of the big toe together. Draw your pinkies towards you, and you should feel a whole different feeling up the back of your legs. You can do all kinds of things here. You can do figure eights. You can just bicycle the legs. So I'm pressing with my hands to keep my heart forward. I'm not allowing a big arch in my low back. And a breathing. So here's your bicycle. If you want to turn it into a full bicycle, take your hands off the mat and bring one elbow to the opposite knee. Bring your belly button in. And don't forget to breathe. So let's do 4 more cycles. Inhaling and exhaling. 3 more. Bridge pose in 2. Last one, best one. Great. Bring your feet down to the mat. Roll down onto your back. Let's do a counter pose. So walk your shoulder blades together and take your fingertips and wiggle them so that you can tickle the back of your heel. And I want you to think about where your foot is. I want your toes to be slightly in and your heels to be slightly out, because I want the outer edges of your feet to be lined up with the outer edges of our mat. And we don't have anything here so we can see. So just lift your hips. Now I want you to think about your foot. If you roll to your pinky edge, ground down through the base of your big toe, and then lower. You can do this with a flat spine. You can do this with a neutral spine. Imagine that you're squeezing an imaginary ball, and just lift up into bridge and lower. This time, let's hold it up. Hold your bridge. Take your arms, walk your shoulder blades even closer, pull your belly button in, knit the low ribs in, lift, squeeze the imaginary ball, and interlace your hands behind your mat. Release your pinky fingers and try to squeeze the palms together. What happened to your feet? Do you keep rolling to the pinky edge of your feet? Press your feet down and traction them out, but use the instep, the inner part of your heel. Use the inner part of your toes. And then slowly lower down. Hug your knees in. You can hold behind your hamstrings. You can hold on top of your shins. Dorsiflex the ankles. Dorsiflexing the ankle has 2 mobilities. Well, 2 flexions. So we can flexion and extension. Dorsiflex, toes towards the knees. Plantar flex, stretching the top of the foot, toes away. So dorsiflex and plantar flex. Great. Bring your feet down to the mat. Roll over to one side and slowly press yourself up. We're going to do some standard yoga poses, and we're really going to focus a lot on our feet. So let's go to warrior 1. So step to the back of your mat. Step your right foot forward. Rotate your back foot to 45 degrees, and then make sure that your feet are in line with your hips. So you do not want to have heel-to-heel alignment. You might have to walk your right foot over towards the right side of the mat. Bring your hands to your hips. Square your hips and square your shoulders. You can bring your arms up overhead, or you can keep your hands on your hips. We're really going to focus a lot on our feet. Back foot, ground down to the pinky edge. Lift the inner arch. Straighten out that back leg. Keep grounding down through that back heel. Keep grounding down through the outer edge of that foot as you bend into this front knee. I'm going to keep walking my foot forward so that as I bend into this front knee, my knee stays behind the ankle. Then I'm going to square my shoulders as much as possible. I'm going to square my hips as much as possible, and this is my warrior 1. Keep checking in with your pinky edge of that back foot. Dial it down. Press the heel down. If your heel begins to lift, you need to not bend so far into your front knee. You can bend and extend. That feels good. And let's just sink into our warrior 1. My right foot is forward. I'm going to square my shoulders as much as possible. I'm pulling my shoulders down. I'm lifting my fingertips up. Now we're going to rotate to warrior 2. So all I do is point my toes perpendicular, so the outer edge of this back foot is in line with the outer edge of this back, of the back of my mat. My toes, my front toes are facing forward, so they're perpendicular to each other. Again, I'm going to ground down through the back, pinky edge of that back foot. I'm going to press down with my big toe, and then I'm going to sink into this front knee, and again, flare this front knee towards the pinky toe, but press down with the big toe. Option to bring your arms out like a T, and pull back with the back arm to keep this left shoulder over the back shoulder over the back hip. Try to get your fingertips as far away from each other as possible. So again, lift through the back arch. If your heel is lifting or if your back arch is collapsing, then don't bend so far into this front knee. Good. Both toes are out, both heels are in, both arms are up. Star pose. Hands to heart center, horse pose. So same thing. When you're in horse pose here, take your hands, put them on your knees and press them out. The tendency here is for the knees to cave in and for all the weight to go on the base of the big toe. I want you to do the opposite of what we've been doing. I want you to press down with the pinky edge of your feet and press your knees out. And you can get a shoulder stretch in here. This is a nice hip stretch. Don't forget to breathe. Good. And then bend your knees, bring your fingertips down to the mat. Now aim all 10 toes forward so that the outer edges of the feet, again, are lined up with the outer edges of your mat. And we're just going to bend from side to side. Whatever feels good. Bend your elbows, really get the hips going. And then we're going to do Skandasana lunge. So my left toes are facing forward, my right toes come up, and I'm on my right heel, and I've got my left heel down. So for a lot of people, you're going to be up here, which means that there's a calf muscle that's really tight. It's called your soleus. We're going to get to that on the wall. But if you can, use your hands to help you figure out how to get yourself into this particular position. And then the goal is to bring hands to heart center and sit up as tall as possible. I've got super tight inner thighs here. Really want to draw the toes towards the knee here. And see how much you can lunge down without the knee lifting, without the heel lifting. Let's come over and see what the other side looks like. So we're going to start in the center with our toes facing forward. You can wiggle from side to side again, or just come down into your Skandasana side lunge. So the knee always tracks in line with the toes. So as you bend, if your knee goes to the right, you need to rotate this foot a little bit over. You lift the long leg, lift those toes, press through the heel, and see if you can keep this front heel down as you try to sit up as tall as possible and bring the heel down towards the hip down towards the heel. I'm dorsiflexing this ankle, and now I'm going to pull my pinky toe towards me of the straight leg, and I'm going to press with my big toe away. Huge difference up the back of my leg. Hope you guys can feel that. I hope you're breathing too. This is a tough one. Hands come to the center. Wiggle your toes together. I'm just turning forward so you guys can see me. Bring your hands to your hips. Slowly rise to stand. Make some circles with your hips. It feels so good. Great. Do a little bit of balancing. Bring your feet hips width. Remember, if you're not sure what hips width is, take the wingspan of your hand. Put it in between the big toe, base of your big toe. It's the span from your pinky to your thumb. Good. You can bring your hands to your hips. We're just going to lift and lower the heels. I want you to lift your heels, but I want you to think about the base of the big toe and lower. Try not to lift through the inner arch and roll to the pinky edge of the foot. Chin is up, gaze is forward. This is all about balance and breath. So we're going to inhale, we're going to bring our arms up overhead. And exhale, we're going to lower the arms and lower the heels. I want your hands to touch your thighs at the same time that your heels touch the mat. So you're going to inhale and bring your arms up overhead. big toe here. And lower. Use your breath. It'll really help and control your ability to balance. So do 2 more on your own. You're going to inhale and rise up onto your toes. And you're going to exhale. And arms have to move a lot faster than the heels. Great balancing exercise. It works the emotional, it works our energy, it works our meridians and our breath, works our physical. Great. Next standing pose that we're going to do is we're just going to do a knee lift. We're just going to bring my right thigh is parallel to the ground. I'm dorsiflexing that ankle. Toes are reaching towards the knee. I've got a 90-degree bend in my knee, and my hands are on my hips. What I'm thinking about is my standing foot, my left foot, my straight left leg. I want to ground down and press through my heel. 3 points of contact. My heel, base of the big toe, and base of the pinky toe. And now I'm going to press down and lift up through the crown of my head and really engage my abs. That's the trick to balance. So this might seem pretty easy for people, so we're just going to add a couple of things. If you feel like your ankle, your stabilizing ankle, is jumping around, I'd love for you guys to do this in the mirror. If you see your ankle muscles and everything moving and jumping all around, I want you to stay in this position here. Try just to do it a couple times every single day. You can do it standing in the grocery line. You can do it on a conference call. You can do it standing in your kitchen. And I want you to watch those muscles. They're going to strengthen really, really fast. Let's go to the other side. We'll go back to that. I had you up there for a long time. So other side. Ground down through the right ankle, the right foot. Those 3 points of contact on the right, on the base of the right foot. Press down with your foot. Pull up at the crown of your head. Try to increase the space between your ears and your shoulders. So we're going to go back to the right side, but what I want you to do is just bring the knee out to the side. And notice how it really affects your balance. So the further things get away from our midline, the harder it is to balance. That's when the big toe comes into play. Find your big toe. Use your big toe. To make it even more difficult, find your big toe and do some really slow side oblique crunches. Hands are behind the head, elbow comes to the knee. If you roll to the pinky edge of that foot, you're probably going to fall over. Good. Let's release and go to the other side. So we start with our left toes facing forward and our right thigh parallel to the mat. We've already been here. We were here for a long time. In order to challenge it, we bring the thigh out to the knee, out to the side, trying to keep it at hip height. I can feel my left ankle wobbling all over the place. So I should stay there, but I'm just going to demonstrate the oblique crunch on this side. Right elbow comes towards the right knee, knee comes, good, and then release. Make some circles with your hips. We're going to do one more standing stretch. Come to the back of your mat. Step your right foot forward. And your left toes are aimed slightly back, kind of like warrior one. Bring your right hand to your hip. Bring your left arm forward. This one really shows what happens with our feet. So ground down through the pinky edge and the heel of the back foot. Try to reach the sky with your left hand. Take a nice big inhale here. And on an exhale, I'm pulling my right hip back. And I'm coming forward with a flat back and feeling a stretch up the back of my right leg. I've got to press down with the instep, inner heel, and base of the big toe of this left foot. And I'm going to come down, and at this point you can bend your front knee as much as you need to. Try to get your knee or your forehead on your forehead or your nose on your knee, and then begin to re-straighten that leg. Keep the weight to the instep of this front foot, and now pull the right hip back. And feel a stretch up the back of the whole back of that leg. And then let's just release. Bring your hands to your hips, slowly rise to stand, and step back, other side. Left foot forward, standing, balancing, forehead to knee. Right foot is angled, front foot is straight ahead. Ground down to the pinky edge of that back leg, the back foot. The back leg stays perfectly straight. Right arm is up. Left hand is on the hip. Take a nice big inhale up. And I'm going to come up and over, and I'm actually going to track this right hand towards the pinky edge and way out in front of this front foot. I'm pulling my left hip back with my thumb. My right leg is perfectly straight. I'm grounding down, pulling up through that back inner arch, and I'm folding over this front leg. Press down with the front foot, that big toe, and that heel of the foot. And that'll really help. Bring your hands to your hips, slowly rise to stand, and step forward, and come to your wall. So we're going to do a couple of stretches here on the wall, and then we're going to do legs up the wall. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a calf stretch and a soleus stretch. Really, really important. We've got two muscles in the calf. So you're going to bring, I've got my left foot pretty close to the wall. I'm going to step my right foot back. I'm going to keep my back leg straight and ground down through my back heel. My toes are facing forward. Most people do this with their heel in and their toes out. Toes face forward, so line up that middle toe with the shin, ankle and the shin. My fingertips are on the wall. I'm going to keep the back leg straight, ground down through my heel, keep my ears over my shoulders, and I'm going to bend through this front knee. I'm pressing down with the back heel, and I'm pressing through the front knee. I'm stretching the big muscle in your calf. It's called your gastroc. This is a real common static stretch that a lot of people do. Super good to do. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk my front foot, my back foot forward a little bit. My feet are hips width. I'm going to make sure that my toes are facing forward. And now I'm going to bend both knees, and I'm really going to lean the body back. I'm using the wall for stability. And the more I bend this back knee and drive down with the whole bottom of my foot, I'm stretching the soleus, which is a deep intrinsic calf muscle, but it connects to the Achilles tendon. It's lower than that big, meaty gastroc muscle. It's a muscle that we don't normally stretch. So to stretch it, you have to bend your back knee, keep your heel down, keep your toes down, and then release. Let's go to the other side. Right foot is forward, left foot is back. Toes are facing straight forward. Back leg is going to stay straight. I'm going to ground down through that heel, and I'm pressing through this front knee to get a nice calf stretch. As I bend my front knee, my torso is coming back. I'm using my hands for stability on the wall. And I'm going to release and walk that foot in just a little bit. I'm going to bend both knees, keep my ears over my shoulders and my shoulders over my hips. I really don't even need the wall, but if you use the wall for stability, you're pressing into the wall to keep your upper body back. Ground down through that back heel. You should feel a big stretch. Bend both knees. It's kind of a weird stretch. Good. Okay, next thing we're going to do is you're going to hold on to the wall. You're going to come to the tops of your toes. So my foot is behind me. Actually, that's not true. My foot is almost in line with my left foot. My toes are curled under. Almost in line with my right foot. I'm going to sit up nice and tall. And I'm just driving this bent knee slightly forward, stretching through the front of the foot. Let's go to the other side. Curling my back toes, my toes under, getting my feet as close together as possible. If this is hard for you, bring the foot further behind you. I should have said that on the other side. This is an aggressive stretch. I'm tucking my pelvis, tucking my tailbone. I'm pressing my foot down and slightly forward to stretch through the whole top of that foot. Feels really good. But I'm kind of crazy, so I do like these stretches. Belly button is in. Standing up nice and tall. Good. Okay, we're going to hit legs up the wall. So, you want to get as close to the wall as possible. We're going to finish here. So this is, if I run out of time, this is where you're going to do your Shavasana. So I'm sitting as close to the wall as possible. My left hip is right on the wall. I'm going to lower to one elbow. I'm going to lower onto my back. And I'm bringing my legs, literally, legs up the wall. Great. Okay. So we're going to do a series of exercises and poses and stretches here in legs up the wall. What I really want you to do, since this has been the theme of everything, is you're going to imagine when your legs up the wall that you're balancing two blocks on the soles of your feet. So what do you have to do to your foot to make it a straight, even plane? So before we even do that, I'm wiggling forward. I have pretty flexible legs, so I can get my glutes all the way up to the wall. If you have really tight hamstrings, you can come away from the wall and you can have a bend in your knees. It's perfectly fine. This is a really, really nice, restorative, low back, glute, and hamstring stretch. The longer you're in legs up the wall, the more benefit we get to the body and all the muscles and everything start to relax. It's really restorative. It's a great pose. Okay, so now let's bring our attention back to our feet. I want you to keep your eye on your middle toe, the center of your ankle, your shin bone, and your knee. We want to keep those guys in line all the time. It probably means that you have to press your big toe slightly away and angle your pinky toes towards you. That's probably what's going to have to happen here. So, if you've had a long day, if you have back pain, if you have cramps, if you have a headache, if you've just gotten off of a long flight, pop up into legs up the wall and try to stay right here in this home position. If you can do 10 minutes, that's awesome. I actually have a whole video on my YouTube channel that walks you through this and all the exercises that we're going to do. Really good for your any low back pain. Okay, so this is our home position, and from here, I'm just going to start to open my right leg out to the right, and I'm thinking about my hips, and I'm going to open it up and get a nice inner thigh stretch. But I really want to pay attention to the left foot that's on the wall. Track that middle toe. I keep wanting to rotate my foot so that the sole of the foot comes more towards my face, and I don't want to do that. I want to drive the sole of the foot flat away. Same thing with this leg that I just opened up out to the side. And I'm breathing. And we're going to go to the other side. I'm going to bring that leg up. I'm going to start with my feet hips width, and I'm slowly just going to, like the hands of a clock, I'm dragging my heel on the wall. So for any of you who are in legs up the wall, if your chin is way up here because you have tight back muscles or really developed upper body, the next time you come into legs up the wall, get a block or a pillow and put it up and support the back of your head. I want you to tuck your chin so that you have kind of a ski slope for your nose. That's going to lengthen through the back of your neck. Good, and then slowly come back up to our starting position. We're going to open both of them up, and we're going to move slowly. I'm pressing with my big toe. I'm pulling the pinky toe towards me. I'm dragging my heels down the wall. Using my hands on my inner thighs. And I'm going to take 3 breaths here. I'm going to move through this quickly just because the interest, my classes are always longer than this. I always like to take time as we go along and see how we feel. I'm limited with time here with the Instagram Live, so I am going to move through these poses more quickly than I normally would. Bring your legs back together. Figure 4. I'm bringing one ankle on the opposite thigh. I'm taking my hand and pressing that bent knee and that bent thigh and that thigh that's close to me. Just to wait a little bit, just to feel the stretch in the hip flexors, keeping an eye on that foot that's up the wall. You can stay here, or if you want to add more to the stretch, you're going to slowly, keeping my right foot plastered right on my outside of my left knee. I'm reaching my hips towards the wall, and I'm slowly dragging my heel down the wall, but I'm pressing this bent knee away. Big stretch. Try not to lift your sacrum, your low back up off the mat. And if you can, bring your foot flat onto the wall and just enjoy this stretch. You can lift and lower your hips. If that feels good, you can bring your toes back onto the wall. If your calf starts to cramp, and to come out, we're going to straighten the leg, release the other leg, and come to our home position, legs up the wall. Other side. Figure 4. And slowly stay there or slowly begin to bring that knee, bend that knee. I'm tracking my toes. I'm making sure that my knee isn't falling out to the right. I'm taking this elbow and I'm pressing this thigh away. Feels really good. Big, deep stretch down the outer hip and the hamstring and the glute. Good. Slowly release and come up. We're going to do a twist. So bend your knees and bring your feet onto the wall and your thighs right onto your belly. Bring your arms out like a T. And begin to walk your feet over to one side. I'm walking my feet to the right. I'm going to walk all the way down until my ankle and my shin and my knee are on the ground. And this top knee can either rest or if your hips are tight, it might ride up a little bit. It might ride up a little bit higher. So I'll show you some options that you can do here. So right now we're in our twist. Option, extend both legs long. Arms are out like a T. Kind of rotate and work your glutes towards the wall, even if you might have come away from the wall a little bit. But use the wall. Press your heels into the wall. Press that one glute into the wall. Then you can take the top knee and you can bend it and bring it down onto the floor or on the mat in front of this extended leg. How's your breath? Are you breathing? Close your eyes. Bend your knees. And slowly walk yourself back up to the center. Bring your knees together. Bring your feet flat onto the wall. Bring your arms out like a T. I'm walking my feet on the wall all the way over. So I've got a baseboard. My left foot is, and both of my feet are on the baseboard. My knees are stacked. I'm scooting so that my hips come back and my one glute I can feel touching the wall, which is good. You can bring your arm to that top knee. You can extend the arm out wide. It's a nice stretch. And remember, from here what we did was we extended the legs long so that your heels are on the wall and you're stacking your hips and you're opening up your shoulders. And the option here is to bring that knee down to the mat in front. Reach the hips towards the wall. Spin the belly button towards the bent knee and the ribs in the opposite direction. Bring your shoulders down to the wall. And then slowly release. There's a bunch more things you can do in Legs Up the Wall. Check out my YouTube video. In the meantime, this is where we're going to stay in Shavasana. Our legs are up the wall. Our arms are out like a cactus. Close your eyes. I'm not going to guide you out of this pose. When it's time to come out, you're going to bend your knees. Press yourself away from the wall and roll over to one side and slowly come up to the seated position. This is an inversion. So I don't want you to feel lightheaded when you come out of it. But in the meantime, bring one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. And I want you to bring your life wheel, your balance wheel, into your mind. I just want you to envision it being balanced. What does it feel like to be balanced? Feel that emotion. Feel that feeling. Let that energy mix with all the rest of the energy that you feel in your body. Feel the energy in our toes, especially our toes. Relax your shoulders. We're going to take this awareness of our feet and apply it and think about it when you walk and when you run, when you bike. Where are your knees in relationship to your ankles? Where's your big toe? It's the first point of contact when we walk. Very important. finish with an inhale and an exhale. Another inhale. Big exhale. Last one, best one. Inhale. And exhale. You're welcome to stay and legs up the wall for as long as you would like. I will walk you out of this. Bend your knees. Push yourself away from the wall just a couple inches. And roll over to one side using your bottom bicep as a pillow. Got all my therapy balls here. Close your eyes. Bring your top hand to the earth and press yourself up to a seated position. And close your eyes, bring your hands to heart center, or resting comfortably on your knees or your legs. Heart forward, chin is back. Tap into this newfound feeling of energy from the tips of our toes, the crown of our head. And taking a moment of gratitude. We're grateful for our bodies, our strong minds, and sending healing thoughts and vibrations out into the world. Thank you very much for joining me. Namaste.